What we're gonna do right quick is that I'd like everybody to just circle up. Can y'all circle up? Yes, I do. And actually, kind of make it more of a challenge. Yeah. So what we're going to do today is actually, this workshop, the PR workshop, is going to be dealing with additional needs, okay? And so what we're going to do right now, though, is we're going to kind of like get to know each other, kind of break the ice, okay? So what we're going to do is what I call a pass it along, okay? So what I want you to do is just say your name, your clean date, and then pass the message along, okay? Public relations a lot of times is about information. So I'm gonna start with you. My name is Dwayne, again. My clean date is June the 13th, 2007. And, come here.
It's a hug.
No, you can't repeat it.
All right. Well, I'm Craig. I'm Annette. My clean date is 10/13/2016.
I don't understand what you're doing. Tell me, what are you doing?
So you remember that when we were kids?
So he's whispering in his ear, and you gotta remember what he said
My
in
name
your
is
ear.
Jay, and I'm an addict. My clean date is May 5th, 2011.
Okay. It's gonna be broken. So it's broken.
Okay.
Hello, right?
I'm Christian, I'm an addict. My clean date is October 8th, 2017. And
What's that last part?
You gotta wait.
I'm Bill.
I'm sure I already messed it up.
I'm an addict. My clean date is October the 8th, 1991. And
I'm sure I messed it up. Probably me.
My name is Ron, I'm an addict.
Hey, Ron.
My clean date is August 13th, 1988.
That's what I'm saying. I'm not too good at remembering anything. You want to jump?
Poking at me.
I don't love it. It probably was me.
But then it's gonna poke in you.
I'm fine.
Okay. Hi, my name's Sean, I'm an addict.
Hey, Sean.
My clean date is July 4th, 2019.
You gonna join us?
Yeah.
Okay.
My clean date is March 13th, 2019.
They don't understand what we're doing.
Or not.
My name's Nick, I'm an addict.
Hey, Nick.
My clean date is September 17th, 2017.
Carl, I'm an addict.
Hey, Carl.
August 23rd, 83.
Can I say it before I say who I am? Because I got chemo brain.
You can say it just, yeah.
With the drugs and chemo, I'm just fucked.
Ah, you weren't supposed to repeat it.
That's what I was gonna say to her anyway, because. I'm a recovering addict, my name is Karen, my clean date is March. Hey, hey, oh my goodness. My clean date is March 3rd, 95.
Welcome.
Oh, hi, I'm Sarah, I'm an addict.
Hey, Sharon.
My clean date is September 30th, 2019.
I'm Tammy, I'm an addict.
Hey, Tammy.
11/11/85.
Right on.
Oh, wow. I need to see her face.
That was Tammy.
There you go.
Hello, fellow, my name is Val, I'm grateful for covering that.
Hello, Val.
Clean date is June 10th, 2002.
Tammy.
He's like the
Rose
senior
wanna
thing.
see you.
I see you. I'm an addict named Heather,
Yeah.
April 6, 2010.
Okay, yeah.
Okay. I'm an addict, my name is Jocko, and
Hey, Jocko.
10/17/17.
Right on.
Oh, Lord, did I get short.
This is gonna be really fun.
Yes, it is.
Okay, I'm Michelle, my clean date is 6/22/09, and, I'm Julie, my date, clean date is, November the 5th, 2010. Okay, my name is Rosemary, and I'm an addict,
Hi,
and my
Rosemary.
clean date is December 11th, 1988, and it was nice to see somebody else in my year class here.
Yeah.
And what was said was, I like turtles.
Okay, my name is Dwayne. Again, I'm an addict.
What's up, Dwayne, Dwayne?
And that's definitely not what I whispered. What I
Whisper,
whispered
whisper.
is that the rain on the plane
Oh,
is
no,
not
that's not what I
always in
said.
Spain.
Oh!
It's not always fun.
The reason that I did this exercise a lot of times is because, hold on, let everybody get
We started like 5 years ago.
Something.
Okay, we got, all right, we got two people that just joined us. Y'all can just give us your name and your clean date, please.
I'm Barbara K. Addict from Midtown Atlanta area, clean date is July 11th, 1998.
Right on, Barbara. Tatiana, who are you?
I'm Titania T. from Columbus, Georgia, my clean date is 11/14/96.
All right, all right. Okay, well, we're gonna jump right off into what I wanted to show you all is one, and it's very easy for the information to become misinformation. And so public relations is one way that we try to keep all that information straight, especially, and keep it in line with our traditions of NA. And with that, though, I'm going to also say this, because something that was pointed out to me just a while ago is that a lot of times when we're dealing with additional needs, we do things in our meetings, or we do things in our committee or whatever, that doesn't even address additional needs. Just like the exercise that we just did, it was just pointed out to me. What if someone had been deaf? They wouldn't have been able to participate. So a lot of times that's what's going on with our meetings. And Rosemary talked to me about 6 months ago, and she was supposed to come and do a presentation at our last region meeting for PR, and she wasn't able to. So I was thinking this would just be the perfect platform to start presenting some of these issues that take place with people with additional needs. Like a lot of times what I've been saying is special needs, and that's not correct, politically correct. It's additional needs. So I'm learning. So with that, I'm turning it over to Rosemary.
Can we pull that chair and the stuff out of the way there?
Let me pull my stuff
Thank you. Okay. I'm Rosemary, I'm an addict.
Hey, Rosemary.
And the reason I'm having everything moved on this side is because
move that too?
that's good, so, cause somebody else can sit there now up here with me, is so that I can be out of the way with both the wheelchair and the service dog under flats. And then we're not tripping over me, or you're not trying to talk to the dog and go, hi, doggy, doggy, so I can be one upset little addict while I'm hoping she's not so distracted that I fall on my butt. All right, let me get my stuff together here. Thank you for bearing with me for a moment. It's been a little bit different today. All right. I said my name is Rosemary. I am the Southeast Zonal Forum's Additional Needs Task Force Chair, as well as the Additional Needs Point of Contact for my region in South Florida. With me here today, I have Michelle, these are the people part of the team that are part of the work group that are present here. I have Michelle, who's the RD of the Carolina region. I have Heather, who's a part of the South Florida region. Jocko, that is part of the Georgia region.
Hey, Jocko.
Sarah has been willing to assist. And if we turn this around real fast so I can introduce these people. These are also part of our work group because we don't confine ourselves to just the Southeast Zonal Forum. You have Laura, who is deaf, but by use of hearing aids, can still interpret. Brian, and she's in Texas. We have Brian, who's in Tennessee, and we have Kim, who is in Oklahoma. I'm not sure who the other person was on there. Was that just a guest, or is that?
Let's see. There's Bry S., Kim B., Laura S., and Gail.
Gail. Gail is also part of our team. She is from South Carolina and is also my sponsor. Okay.
Can
They need to see me right now until I have them turn back over that way.
Okay.
So that she can see me. Because what Laura is doing is interpreting, and they have to see your head, your upper body, your lips, your expressions, so that they get the whole picture, because that's how they get the whole picture without hearing. Okay. Additional needs literature and the addressing of additional needs has been in Narcotics Anonymous since the 1980s with IP 26 Additional Needs and the Additional Needs Resource Information Booklet. Both of these are fellowship and conference and fellowship approved since 1998-99, in case you didn't know. It's also referred to in the group as well as other NA literature. Yet the majority of NA members have no knowledge of the literature or the reason for the literature. Additional Needs addresses accessibilities for addicts with vision, hearing, and physical disabilities, as well as it briefly touched on service dogs, and back then we really only knew about guide dogs. We're talking 98. Both our traditions, as well as United States law, through the American Disabilities Act, the ADA, state that we should observe this when forming meetings, conventions, and conferences. Tradition 3 specifically states the only requirement for membership is a desire to stop using. Tradition 5 states our primary purpose is to carry the message to the addict that still suffers. Yet those members with disabilities are constantly forgotten or ignored. How do NA members receive the life-saving message of Narcotics Anonymous? How do you all get it? We attend meetings. We get a sponsor. We get a support group. We work the steps. For many addicts, for many of us, access to meetings and the NA message is easy to get. But what if you physically can't get into the meeting? Or you can't hear the members that are sharing? Or you can't see the literature? Then what do? And having one of those disabilities, you sit in the meeting room and no one reaches out to you. You just sit there. If you can't access recovery, then there is no recovery. So is the addict with disabilities condemned to a life of using? Because nobody wants to take the time to figure out how to bring the message to them? How long will NA members continue to rationalize, at least we reach some addicts, And I will tell you straight up, the last time somebody said that to me, I asked them when God died and they became God and decided who could live and who can die and who gets the NA message and who doesn't. That is it. And I was sitting right in this wheelchair with the service dog when I was told at least we can reach other people. Am I chopped liver? Could someone tell us where in the spiritual principles this is written? You can't. It's not in there. We also have a school of thought that access to the meeting is an outside issue. It's definitely a recovery issue. Now, it's been addressed in our literature in several places, yet addicts continue to believe that addicts with disabilities are not full NA members and not deserving of recovery. And I've actually been told that I'm an outside issue. And I was told this by an RD. And that we're just a special interest group. No, we're not. Let me tell you this. I did not come into this program in a wheelchair. I did have a disability coming out of the military, but it was not a big deal at that time, and it progressed, and it progressed, and it progressed. You know what I had to do to get, you heard that I have 31 years. Do you know what I had to do to get that? I had to rework the steps. That's recovery oriented, to accept a disability, learn to work with the disability and not fight it, and to stay clean, and to fight the doctors that wanted to hand me dope. And I want you to think about how many people who have gotten, and it can happen to you tomorrow, an injury, an illness, and the doctors hand you dope, and you think you can take it according to prescription, and the next thing you know, that person with many years has relapsed. This is a recovery issue. What I'm going to do right now, and this workshop is going to have some interactive parts where you're going to get to do, or some of you or all of you may get to participate. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to turn the workshop over to Michelle, who will be doing the deaf and hearing impaired portion of the workshop. And Brian, you will be told when it's your turn to speak by Michelle. And I'm so grateful when we have an interpreter on. Okay, come on, Michelle.
Hi y'all, my name is Michelle. Good morning.
Hey, Michelle.
We're glad you're here participating in our workshop. This part of our presentation is going to be on the deaf and hard of hearing individuals, members of Narcotics Anonymous. I'm going to begin with Brian. Can you turn the thing around? With Brian, can you make him bigger, please? Brian S. is right here in this corner. If y'all can see him, he's going to tell y'all his story. Just click on him.
And unmute Laura, please.
And unmute Laura. Laura's right here.
I think she has to do that.
This is some of the challenges of being in an additional needs, okay? Some of the challenges. We're supposed to have a screen, but the room was closed due to an issue, so we do not have a large screen for everyone. Okay. Brian is speaking. He's telling you his story.
Go back to Brian, please.
Go back up to Brian. Just keep Brian on. Thank you. Did anyone understand what Brian just said?
I got some of it. Right.
Okay.
Right.
Well,
Okay, you can turn it back.
you can turn it back so Laura can read my lips. okay? This is what deaf and hard of hearing meetings members go through when they're in our meetings. They can't hear you. And when you walk away, turn your back, they definitely don't know what you're saying. Okay, now here is what Brian just said to you. This is Brian's story. My name is Brian Stevens. I'm from Salina, Tennessee. When I came back into recovery years ago, I was faced with the same frustration as before, only this time with the desire to stop using. I came into the rooms full of fear, loneliness, isolated from everyone in these rooms. I was in desperate need of an ASL interpreter, American Sign Language interpreter. I have been clean since 9/29/2018. I'm grateful that I'm a member of NA and my additional needs team. I want to help others with any additional help they may need, make updates and changes in recovery. I feel that what anyone may need in their recovery should be more available for them. I want everyone to have a better chance at their recovery than I ever did. I've seen too many relapses because of their needs not accessible enough. For most of us, our life depends on those interpreters for our recovery. I have had an interpreter through video calls in some meetings when available. Thanks. I love you.
Yeah. I only got the I love you.
Okay. But that was what Brian was saying to you all. And I'm going to read some other information that you can oh yeah. Okay, I'm glad she said that because I'm not paying attention to my notes here. May I have a couple of volunteers, please, to come up front to try to be part of this interactive part of the workshop? Let me see if I can do this here.
How many volunteers, Michelle?
Can I have 3? Would you like to come up too? 4 is fine. Take 2. Okay, and hold them in your hand until I tell you. Take 2. Take 2. Okay. Now, what you're going to do when I tell you to is to place those.
Go back to your seat. Yeah, Michelle, let them go back to
You
their
can-
seat.
you
'Cause
may
they're
go
not
back-
going to hear when you say go back to your seat.
Right. Go back to your seats. That's true. Okay. This is one of our challenges as well because we're doing this as we can. What you're going to do in a few moments, you're going to put the earplugs in your ears. Do not take them out until I go like this. Okay, so watch me when I do this. That means take the earplugs out because you will not be able to hear me. All right? So now, everyone that was a participant, please put those in your ears.
All the way in.
Uh-huh. Okay. Now, the definitions of hearing impairment. 1, deaf, significant or profound hearing loss. The method of communication is primarily American Sign Language. 2, hard of hearing, also known as HOH, any degree of hearing loss without the use of ASL. Depending on the degree of hearing loss, the use of hearing aids, apps, and special devices and lip reading may be used. In both groups, the level of verbal or written English skills may vary widely. Okay? Now, starting with this young lady here. What, did you hear the message?
Well, once I got them all the way in, no, I couldn't hear anything.
Did you hear the message?
You cheated?
You cheated.
No, I didn't cheat. It's just I wear these all day where I work and we talk to each other.
Okay.
So it's just kinda like it's not cheating.
I couldn't hear it clear with me having it out.
Okay. Well, now you all understand a little bit of what a deaf person goes through when they're sitting in a meeting. Okay? They cannot hear. Thank y'all so much for participating in that part of our presentation. Okay. Now, how to assist an NA member with hearing disability at a meeting. It can be difficult to tell if a member has a hearing disability. Hopefully the member will let someone know of any needs. Is there an initial difficulty in communicating? Pen and paper or cell texting may be an option. No matter what degree of hearing impairment, the following information may help. Ensure to maintain eye contact. When one looks away while speaking or covers the mouth, it becomes difficult to read facial and body expressions. A lot of us go by the body expressions. Okay. If the do not speak loudly. They can't hear you. So yelling at them is not going to work. Okay. Have one person speak to them at a time. Multiple people speaking, they cannot follow the conversation because they can't follow everybody's lips at once. Okay? There are ways to get an ASL, a sign language interpreter, can be utilized, and there are ways for you to get a sign language interpreter. We do have guides that's got more information in it on how to do that, or you may contact Rosemary, and she will be able to, and it's all on these guidelines. Okay? And also, let y'all know, on Thursday nights at 7 p.m., there is a deaf virtual meeting online. Okay? It is available at na.org. You can look it up there, or you can contact one of us. The Zoom link is on the hearing guidelines. You can go on there. It is on Saturday mornings at 11 and on Thursday nights at 7 p.m. A CST time, Central Standard Time. And it is listed right here on the additional need guidelines on our hearing, okay? So please let your areas know, put it out there, let everybody know, because you never know we're all getting older, okay? Everybody needs help. We are all in recovery, and we all one. There is no difference, other than some of us need a little bit more of additional, but other than that, there's no difference. We all are one person. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Michelle.
Thank you, Michelle. I need my glasses to see Thank you, Michelle. And at this time, I'm going to turn the workshop over to Jocko and Heather, who will be doing the blind portion of the presentation.
That's the table?
Yes.
All right. Hi, everybody. I'm an addict, and my name is Jocko.
Hey, Jocko.
And I am the blind team leader for the Southeastern Zonal for local task force. Obviously, you can see I'm blind. But let me start this off. Let me get two volunteers. Who wants to walk in my shoes for a minute? All right.
Yeah, I'm gonna come and get your things.
Okay.
I do too.
All right.
Anybody else?
She's going to take you outside the room, and then she's going to leave you out there for a minute. She's going to come back in for a second, and then come back out there to you. She'll give you the directions what to do.
Right, you got two.
Oh, it's going to be a mess.
Good luck.
Good luck.
They're almost at the back, yeah.
All right, I got a little bit of notes here. Okay. I'm gonna share a little bit with you and try to let you picture what happened with me. I lost my eyesight when I was in active addiction, and then about a year later, after I was, I hit my bottom. I was either going to eat a bullet or I was going to get help. I walked into the rooms of Narcotics Anonymous. And fortunately, the first room I walked into, I stood outside the door and I must have got 30, 35 hugs. A lot of them said, "Can I hug you?" Because I didn't know what they were doing until they grabbed me. So, that's one piece of advice I can always say. If you're coming up to a newborn person, please ask them, can I give you a hug? But I've been to other meetings and nobody gives me a hug. I don't know who's there. I'll probably recognize the voice with the person that gave me a ride there, but if I don't know anybody else's voice, you might as well just not be there. You're like ghosts to me. I mean, if y'all don't come up to me, I don't know you. And I have found this often. I have went into, well, fortunately, the first meeting I went into, which was my home group for about a year, it took time. They accepted me, but they didn't know how to assist me. The room would be set up in one way, and I got used to it. Just like you picture this room. After I walk around in it, I learn it, I picture it in my head. But when I come back to the room and y'all decide to change the room up, guess what? It's a whole new learning space. I'm running into things. So it took time for me to teach my home group members, if you change this, you got to let me know. Because otherwise I don't know. The simple things of like where the coffee utensils are. When you move that around or something's not put out, I don't know where it is unless somebody tells me. These were some of the early on struggles, but it took time. So like I'm from the Marietta area. So a good chunk of the people out there know, and they know how to assist me. I went through many different times where I would be standing outside of a meeting and I can hear a group of people over here talking. I can hear a group over here talking. I can hear a group of people over here talking. But I don't know if they're in a serious conversation or not, and I'm standing right here all by myself in the dark. Because I don't know if it's rude for me to walk up to that group or not. But it took some time, and eventually I learned how to I expressed that. And now certain people will be like, "Hey, Jocko, come over here, come on." They won't let me stand there by myself. It's a sense of loss. And
Have this ready.
Excuse me?
Have this ready.
Okay, well, bring them in. I'm going to continue. I'll explain that in a minute. But, okay, and some of the different the things that I had went through was challenging. And what I worry about today is, that newcomer that comes in who may just be newly blind. And you know how scary it was when you walked into your first meeting. Try thinking about this now, just learning how to be in the dark. It's a new level of fear. From the day we are born, we learn how to live our life because of our sight. Our sight is our primary focus, our primary sense. And believe it or not, we do take it for granted, because I know I do. And when we take that away, our whole world's turned upside down, because no longer is that our primary sense. We got to learn how to take information in a different way. Now, I was told early on that every addict, any addict seeking recovery, has the right to the verbal message of Narcotics Anonymous and the written message. That's not true. Right up here we have a basic text in Braille. Come take a look at it in the meeting. This is the only piece of literature Narcotics Anonymous has in Braille. None of our other pieces of literature in Braille. The only piece of literature that we have on CD is the basic text. And there is only 4 pieces of literature that are on digital format. The basic text, It Works How and Why, Step Working Guide, and Living Clean. Every other one, there is no other one. So it has been a struggle. And each one of these forms of literature are very, very important depending on the person who has lost their eyesight, whether they had lost their eyesight early, like when they were born, if they were born that way, or if they lost it later in life. It's all dependent. But every one of these forms are very, very important. One thing that I have been struggling with lately, well, not me struggling, one thing I have seen lately, okay, social media. and even the website. The NA website is not entirely accessible. It's pretty good, but it's not entirely accessible, which sucks. You know, because I want to go on there and I want to buy stuff. I want to learn stuff. Not for me, apparently. I don't know if I'm not important. I don't know. Or it hasn't been an issue yet, but in time. But social media, you know, Georgia has a Facebook group page. Marietta has a Facebook group page. A lot of areas do. But yet still, we have members that go on there and post a flyer of a convention, of a gathering, of an activity, and they don't explain it. I can't see the picture. And I've told many people time and time again, I have said, listen, I can't see this picture. I need you to write out what's on there. And people still continue to do it. But every time I see it, I say something. And I've been saying it on the Georgia website, on the Marietta website. And some people are slowly getting better, but it still happens. The bottom line is, we don't think about everybody. It's more of, I don't know if it's being more exclusive and less inclusive, or if it's we just don't care, or we just don't know, or we just don't want to know. But believe me, as you're seeing us up here, not every addict can see, not every addict can hear, not every addict is physically able. But that doesn't make us any less than y'all. One thing I want to let y'all know, and this is the God honest truth, just because I'm online does not mean I can't do service. I have been a GSR for over 2 years in 2 different groups. I have started my own meeting, all on my own. And I am very proud to say it's going great. Of course, I had people, you know, I didn't make any choices on I didn't want to self-will it, so certain decisions I bounced off other people, but nevertheless, I did all the footwork on my own. It can be done. We can do it. We can do just about anything y'all can do. We just do it in a different way. Just like now, I'm reading notes on my phone, but they're going through my headphones.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I may be looking down at that's just force of habit because I used to be able to see, but no, I can't see this. I mean, you see my screen? It's black, right?
Right.
Yeah, see, I can't see it, but it's going into my headphones.
I thought it was braille.
No. But yeah, I mean, so this is, I mean, I just do things in a different way. Believe me, I'm a GSR, I take notes. I bring back different stuff, like for the car, for whatever votes are going on, you know, whatever. I do it. So don't exclude somebody who has a disability from service. If they want to serve, man, give them every opportunity to help them as best you can. Because that may save their life. I know service saved my life. What we have, okay, well, oh, they're not back yet. I can still hear them. Are y'all having fun?
They must have run into each other.
Sorry about the.
You're not. This is part of the presentation.
Yeah, when you find your seat, please let me know. We do have the guidelines, correct? To hand out to everybody?
Yes.
All right, listen, guys. I urge you to take these guidelines home. Please. Take these guidelines home with y'all. Present them at your group. If your group likes them and thinks it's a good idea, please, try to have your area put them as an addendum or add them to their policy for your area. I did this in the Marietta area. Marietta loves them. And this, I ain't got these guidelines here to change everybody's group. No, that's not my.
You might want to stop by one of the guys.
Why?
Just letting you know.
No, this is like, I don't
This is what we do. This is what I run into people all the time.
Hold on, I'll just pass them out. You gonna pass? Yeah, go ahead and get yours.
I got it. Okay, you're at
Yeah.
Okay, thank
You
you.
got yours?
Yeah. Take a bow. Take a bow.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Good job.
Okay.
I urge you to take these back. I mean, listen, I'm not trying to change the home groups, but if somebody walks into your home group and has a hearing disability or a seeing disability, at least you have some reference of how to go about assisting this person. That make sense to y'all? Okay, y'all weren't listening.
Or
I'll say that again. All right, excuse me, y'all.
Sorry, Tucker.
Excuse me, y'all. I'm urging you to take these policies back into your home groups. And this is not so you can just change your home group when you try to get your area to accept them or adopt them. But the thing is if a person with a vision impairment or a hearing impairment walks into your home group or into your area, at least y'all will have some reference of knowing what you can do to help assist this person. Instead of ignoring them, just like we've talked about it before. So please, I mean, I did it at the Marietta area. And ultimately, if we can get more areas to do this here in our Georgia region, maybe we can get the Georgia region to adopt them too.
Yako, you got 2 minutes.
And ultimately, I mean, what I really would like to make Georgia additional needs friendly region.
Right on.
I really would. So, let me ask one quick question. Are the people back in their seats?
Yeah.
Yes.
How'd y'all enjoy that?
I'm Tanya J. Maddox. I didn't enjoy it.
Why not?
I felt powerless.
Ooh.
I felt vulnerable. But I knew that when Heather came out, I felt like I was safe, that she wouldn't do anything to allow me to hurt myself. And then she let me go on my own, and it was total darkness. I heard your voice. And it made it a little bit better because I felt like I was getting closer to you.
You had a point of reference.
It reminds me a little bit like when I go out of the country, go out of the States, and I go to different meetings, right? And as an addict going someplace that I haven't been before, it's the coffee. The smell of the coffee allowed me to feel safe because I know there's a meeting somewhere. And that's what I felt with hearing your voice. The same experience of coming inside here, not knowing where I'm going, but I heard that there were some people in here and I knew I was safe.
That's good.
And
All right, one more person.
Karen.
My name is Karen.
I got it.
I think it's a little more emotional. Well, I felt very alone. And I came up to you this morning when you were in the lobby and I asked you if I could help you. And what I realized was that all these people in the room, nobody asked to help me.
And that's why I said thank you.
And I felt so bad for you this morning. And I realized people didn't see you and you're the one that's blind.
Yep.
And I've been handicapped or extra needs over the years in different ways in my own life, and nobody offered to help me get a seat. I didn't know when to stop, and so I felt there was a room full of people and I felt so alone other than hearing your voice.
Thank you. All right, well, my chairperson is about to kick my ass if I don't get off here, but thank you everybody. Thank you for participating.
Thank you, Jocko.
You wanted an opportunity to show that Braille book?
Yeah. I'm an addict named Heather.
Are we going to
Hey,
have
Heather.
to ask questions of each one?
So I'm from Canada, and my goal, my dream is that every area in my country will have one meeting that is fully open to all additional needs. So what I did up north is to increase awareness, I bought a basic text in Braille. So do you want to come up and just hold this for a minute? Imagine carrying this around to meetings. Okay, there's 5 volumes for our basic text. That is one basic text. So I did that because I wanted to create awareness. Also, what I talk about, and if that's okay, is so I'm aging, obviously, and as we stay in recovery, we're aging, and as we get older, things kind of fall apart. I mean, thank goodness for replacement body parts, but I'm losing my hearing because I listened to way too many loud rock concerts in my youth. My eyesight is going. So one day I too may walk into this room and not be able to see anything. So creating awareness out there for not only those people who are full-bodied and full-sighted and hearing, that may not last. And so what I've done up north is in my area, we have one meeting where we sit in a circle. So if somebody is losing their hearing, they can read lips, they can see expressions. We don't change the meeting room. Everything's the same. So if somebody who is losing their sight or has lost their sight or somebody in a wheelchair, and I'm being told that's it. So if you want to talk to any of us afterwards, and there's a question period, and if you want to check out the basic text, please do so. Can I curtsy now?
Yes. Somebody help me put that back in the bin. Bless you. Thank you. Bless you.
Oh, that's
Bless you. No, there's something on the road. Ooh. Okay. Thank you, Jocko and Heather. And I'll be doing the part on physical disability and touch a little bit on service dogs. And yes, we'll have plenty of time that I've been being asked for question and answers. We've got this almost time. That's why we've been signaling each other on how much we got. For those of us that are physically disabled, that is the use of a cane, walker, scooter, wheelchair, or mobility service dog. We are constantly challenged when it comes to Narcotics Anonymous meetings. Can I get in the front door? Is the meeting up or downstairs? Is there an elevator or a ramp? Can I get into the meeting room? Is there a place for the wheelchair in the meeting room? Can I use the bathroom or even get in the bathroom? And when using a service dog, where can I sit that accommodates both the chair and has the dog out of the way, as you saw me do when I came in here? Those of you here, excuse me. Thank you. For those of you here, if you had to think about all those things every time you went to a new meeting, or even your very first meeting, how likely do you think you're going to be attending another meeting? I got to do that all the time. And at this time, I'm going to ask for a volunteer from the audience.
You have a driver's license,
Okay, let's, young man back there. And I'm not going to change the controls.
Okay.
What you got to do is try to get from here to that back door.
With this?
Yes.
Okay, and you're not going to tell me anything?
Nope.
Okay.
And I'm going to grab this chair right over here.
Can you drive?
Don't.
Yep, I have a driver's license.
All right. Good luck.
Okay. So I can go anywhere I want?
You have to go from here to there.
Okay.
Through
Here
those
to-
chairs.
Here to where?
Here to the back, where that back row is.
Okay.
Ow. Oh, there.
I hope he makes it.
He's not going to. Nobody would have.
Wow.
When you come to a block and you can't do anything but turn around, you have the permission.
Okay.
I think you should blindfold them.
No.
Well, she's not blindfolded.
I'm just
He was
kidding.
joking.
Wow.
Looks like you're blocked in, aren't you? All you can do now is turn around and come back because you have to go another way to get to where you thought you were going.
Can you turn around?
I'm knocking chairs over.
Yes.
That's exactly what happens.
We're gonna get driver's license.
That's right. He's
That's
no
nothing new
drinking
too.
and driving.
That's nothing new too. Keep on coming.
Are you serious?
This is my life. Welcome to it.
I was dragging a chair and didn't even know it.
Okay.
All right.
How expensive are those chairs?
You notice while you're coming through this,
Yeah.
the way the chairs are set up, that if you was to try to get to a particular person in one of those rows, you would have never been able to get there, would you? Come on back. I'm going to save you from anything else because the next thing was to open a door, and you already had enough of a headache. All right, that's good.
Okay.
Push. Bunny. You take that out of my way, pretty please. That you?
Yes. Sorry.
By me. Nothing to be sorry about. You didn't realize it. No, totally.
All the way. All right.
I'm coming back.
Okay.
Yeah, I make it look easy, don't I?
You
This
do.
is years of doing it. Flats, under.
You said that, you did.
I'm not done.
Okay.
Okay, now, what would we do? One of the things we like to do is we like to make big circles in a meeting. You ever think about if a wheelchair needed to get in there, how are you going to get that wheelchair in that circle? Remove it. Some of you would think that. Do you know how many times I've sat there and waited? I've been to NA meetings across the country. So this is not just one or two. It depends. Some groups have people that think and have understanding, and some groups don't. And they just look at you like, Okay. So hopefully this exercise gets you to realize that when you set your rooms up, to keep these kind of things in mind. You have some older people have walkers and all that. How are they getting to their seats? You have somebody that could be blind, trying to get through that mess. It's almost impossible. Besides the fact, by the way, folks, you know it is in the fire codes. Oh God, the addict talked about something in the law that we're supposed to have some clear lines of. All right, some of the other things that might be. What if your entrance is too hard to get into? Your room may be accessible, but the front door, because, well, like down in Florida, we got hurricane strength doors. There's other places. How do you do that? How do you do that cost effectively? Oh, we can't change the door. It's simple. Is the door big enough for the wheelchair? It's just too heavy? You have a greeter? That's a trusted servant position. A greeter. That's as simple as it is. Oh, hi, I love you, open the door, here we go. A lot of it's common sense, and that's part of my job is to supply those kind of answers. There are many other inexpensive or no-cost ways to have your meeting place be handicap accessible. Of course, you could pick a place that has no stairs or elevator. If it has 1 or 2 steps, you can make a ramp. It's not very difficult at all. We talked about the meeting room, and then have the coffee pot where a chair user can reach it, or be kind enough to help to assist. And as Jocko reminded you, don't move the coffee pot 5 times each time there's a meeting, just because, and the utensils and all that, keep them in the same place. And if you're going to have to change them for a good reason, please tell people so they know. And addicts don't like change, so how do you think it is when I memorize where the spot is, where did it go? Okay, something else that may not be easily adapted is if the bathroom is handicap accessible or not. Sometimes it's a simple fix. You can put a bar next to the toilet. By the way, my handicap accessible room here in the hotel, when I went to grab onto the handbar to help myself get up, came off the wall. Y'all can thank Valkyrie. And the fact that I was still sitting in place and had not gotten up yet. I've already told management, this is the life of being disabled. It's nothing new. Okay. Sometimes it's a major fix in the bathroom. You might have a landlord that's not willing to work with you or give you permission because you do know that it's the meeting that's renting the room that's responsible for everything in it. And I'll talk more if anybody needs, that's further education about how to handle more situations. Then you could be in a church that doesn't have to be handicap accessible. It's not under the ADA. It's exempt. The meeting is not, the church is. Okay? So finding a meeting with an accessible bathroom is an obvious solution. But there are those of you that find difficulties getting a meeting place. We're Narcotics Anonymous. Not a lot of folks want us. So think of the spiritual solution. Why would you allow only some people to be able to use the bathroom and tell others they could not? You know what's the most inexpensive and legal way to solve that problem? The bathroom's off limits to everybody. If one can't get in, everybody can't get in. That's a simple fix. Inconvenient? Yeah, but there's some people already being inconvenienced. Why is it okay for you to go to the bathroom? How spiritual is that? And tell me, well, nanny, nanny, boo, boo, you can't use the pee-pee pod. Another hard to solve is that you do have to have an inaccessible room. And we have things that helping out because there is the fact that that can happen. Not every meeting is going to be able to be accessible. That's a fact because of the challenge of finding an NA, somebody to rent to an NA meeting. The biggest thing to remember is you don't sit there and go, too bad, too sad, nanny, nanny, boo, boo, you can't come in the meeting, go find another one. That's not spiritual in the way we handle it. I know if you told me that this addict, I don't care how many years clean I have, I'm not going to handle it with serenity. And there may be quite a few choice words that I don't normally say that you're going to hear. But what you can do, following our spiritual principles, have a couple of people take a chair outside and have a mini meeting outside. You know, that's what businesses actually have to do if they're not accessible. Bring the meeting outside. You don't have to have the whole meeting, but bring a couple outside. Okay? And then make sure the addict has directions and assistance to get to an accessible meeting. After that. But you don't just say, I'm sorry, you're going to have to go to another meeting. You bring the meeting outside. It's that simple. I know, we don't, a lot of times we want to make our answer so hard, but sometimes it's so simple. And then identify your meetings that are handicap accessible on meeting sheets. And when you have your phone lines answer and helping people to find a meeting, have them ask that one more question. Do you need a handicap accessible room or do you need any other accessibility? Ask them to begin with and steer them to the right meeting to begin with. Then nobody gets frustrated. Nobody says, screw you, Narcotics Anonymous. Because I couldn't get in a meeting. If that's a newcomer, they ain't coming back. That was our first impression, is that, oh, go find another meeting. All right, service dogs. And I'm making sure I'm taking my own time, yep, that we have time left over. I'm going to do this really quick. What is a service dog supposed to do? First of all, they have to be task trained to mitigate the disability of a major life system or illness. So that means, I have anxiety and this little thing is here to comfort me. That's not a service dog. Okay? In the United States, it's an animal, and by the way, it's in most countries that emotional support animals are not covered access by law. Just in this country, it's only service dogs and as can be provided miniature horses. No cats, no snakes, no pheasants, none of chickens, none. Okay? In addition, like I said, that the dog has to be task trained, high-end obedience, and potty trained. Now, Jay, you are physically able, aren't you?
Yes.
Come over here a second. What? Now, we all know that this is a service dog, right?
Mm-hmm.
Watch this.
Somebody said no.
She is no longer a service dog and has to leave the building. Because he is, thank you, he is not disabled. I'm disabled. And and if I gave her to Jocko, it'd be the same thing. She's not a seeing eye dog.
Okay.
But she would still be unwell.
She's still, no.
Follows
She's
the
not a
person.
service dog at all. And this hotel is a no pets. So she would have to leave the building.
If she wasn't a service dog.
She can be a service dog all she wants. If she's not in my hand or another mobility impaired person, she's not a service dog. Yeah. She can't go anywhere that a pet is not allowed. If she,
Unless she's weak.
okay. So what you need to know is, one, the dog has no rights. None. It's not the dog that has any rights. It's the handler. Two, the dog is to remain on leash at all times unless there's a specific task that requires the dog to be off leash. If I was a paraplegic and I drop something and it's over there, yeah, the dog's gonna be off leash, go get it and bring it back, and may have to be permanently off leash because all I can do is voice commands. I have no reason, I do drop the leash. I have a belt on so that if I drop the leash, I'm still within the law. It's that simple. So no, those little doggies that have been running around your meetings?
Yeah.
No.
Okay.
No.
I told that, yeah.
Well, I have one better for you because we actually have a guideline, thank you, that line by line tells trusted servants what to do. Okay? Number 3, if the dog is disturbing the atmosphere of recovery, the dog should be removed outside by the handler, settled, and then brought back in. We've all had our days. We've had our share people tell us to take our heinies outside and stop the giggles.
Yeah, right.
If the dog continues to disturb the atmosphere of recovery, the handler should remove the dog for the rest of the meeting. It's the handler, it's not the dog. One last point, only members that should quietly question whether the dog is a service dog or not is a trusted servant of the group. That is including room openers, greeters, that if they're a trusted servant, they have the right, and that their guideline will explain exactly. For further information, please do read the guidelines. Also, there's reference to Florida law since these were guidelines made for the South Florida region and now being shared at zonal level and everywhere. Anybody who wants to adopt, and Jocko just reminded me to tell you, we can adapt to each of your areas or your region what the South Florida ones are so that you have it exactly for what you need. And I'm more than happy to fix everything because yes, I do have it where you can't change it. I have to change it because too many people think they know the law and want to tweak it. Okay, and then how do we resolve our meetings not being accessible? Again, I've actually discussed some of this. I can skip some of this paragraph here. But we do have legitimate concerns about how to fund the accessibility. And then the additional challenge of where to find a meeting place. We remember our spiritual principles. That's number 1. In our region, I'm also the point of contact for additional needs, and I would highly suggest that you all get one yourselves, and I do believe you have a volunteer already.
My name is Jocko and I am an advocate.
Hey, Jocko.
And I would love, since this is my region, I would love to be the point of contact for our region.
Thank you.
Okay.
Sold.
Okay, and that's what, and because my region, we've already created a lot of these guidelines, it makes it really simple for you to say, hey, Rose, we need this, that, and the other change. Could you change the title of this? We want to bring this in. And a few moments later, you've got what you need. And then and remember, on top of it all, well, excuse me, let me back up. You'll notice that if it refers to law, there's a disclaimer on the top. That disclaimer is reminding groups, yes, we recognize that we are not the ADA police. We do not, NA does not enforce the law, but we are giving you information to make a concrete decision with your group on whether you're going to choose to abide by this or not, and what the consequences are if you choose not to, because each group is autonomous. But do remember that one of the traditions do specifically say that if it affects other groups or NA as a whole, that doesn't help either. And we really don't want any group to get a lawsuit about not being accessible, and guess who'll do that? Your drug treatment people. They got nothing to lose.
Right.
And in the question and answer one I have there, for those of you that, huh? What?
We don't have that.
Yeah, oh, you didn't? I will get that to you to give out. They didn't have the money to copy that one, that's okay.
No, that wasn't it. I just had ran off the front page.
Not a problem.
I didn't realize it was 6 pages.
That's why I had said. There we do have a question and answer that I have supplied to your PR that they can email to you.
Okay.
That explains how groups, yes, they can be sued.
Put it on the website.
Yeah, and
okay.
Yeah, there's another way. Because people think that groups can't be sued, or we don't have any money, and that answers a lot of the questions. One other very important thing. Upcoming in the WSC, in the car, it asks if the additional needs, IP 26 needs to be updated. Please vote yes and not ignore it. And so, it's not recovery related, it's not this, it's not that. 1998, folks, and yeah, probably we need to put a bigger twist of recovery on there. And then you can even tell your RD that the additional needs resource information guide that you probably never even seen, which is 25 pages, which talks more, that needs to be updated too, because it actually explains about how conferences, conventions, and meetings should be inclusive. Lastly, never turn an addict away if they can't access the meeting. If asked to be a sponsor, get some guts and step up. Just because somebody's deaf, if you're scared, give me a call. And my number is on the guidelines, my landline, my email. Those can be shared. If you're scared, I'll tell you how to do it. I'm not deaf, and I sponsored a deaf addict in England because nobody in England wanted to sponsor her. So it can be done. And then you have right here a treatment center that has a section for deaf addicts. And they've been reaching out and asking for sponsors, and you know what y'all told them? No. They told me. Through the deaf Zoom meeting that we have. That's how I got the information. And they're scared to ask again because nobody reached out. So I would suggest if you have anybody got H&I to get your rear ends over there and go give them a hand. They need a panel out there to show that we give a care. Okay, because I need to make sure. All right, let me open this up for question and answers.
I have 2 quick questions. The first one is, thank you very much to everybody. Is it your responsibility to explain to us about the boundaries of the dog, or is it our responsibility? Because I know because of other people, but somebody said, does everybody know this is a service dog? And somebody said no, and I'm sure you just didn't hear it.
I heard it. I figured I'd address it more in a question and answer.
They have no, I mean, I would imagine a lot of people at this convention have no idea not to touch the dog, not to look at the dog in the eyes.
Oh, you've seen me going through some hell.
What?
You've seen me going through some hell about that. Hi, doggy. Oh, you didn't let me touch him.
But what I'm saying is, in a spiritual way, is there a way, is it our responsibility to know, or is it your responsibility to educate us? Because I can't imagine anybody wants to purposely interfere, but
Okay.
sometimes people are just
First of all,
well-meaning.
It should be a trusted servant that does the approach. That's the easiest way.
No, but I'm saying like here at the convention, like people don't know.
Still.
How do we address that?
We teach them in a workshop, because they can't just walk up to anybody and say, is that a service dog? Because I'll tell you to kiss my rear end.
That's not what she's
I'm
saying.
not-
She's saying like if, like I walking by you and
Yeah.
I see your dog and I reach out to touch it, is it your responsibility to let me know, no, you shouldn't do that?
Yeah, sure is. And if anybody that knows is around and wants to chime in, please assist me. Yes.
Can I just ask
Oh, I'm
another
sorry.
question? To JoJo, I'm a caregiver, so my question is the word I didn't want to use the word is it, I'm sorry, I came on, I forget words, not condescending, but is it wrong for me to offer to bring you coffee as opposed to you being empowered to go get it yourself?
Okay, offering,
What time is this?
I personally don't have a problem with that, if you offer.
You got 15 minutes.
But if I'm heading towards the coffee pot and I'm doing it myself, let me do it.
Perfect, thank you so much, that's what I needed to know.
Okay.
Thank you.
And then,
Just like you would offer anybody else, you know, it's okay to offer, but yeah, if I'm already trying to do it on my own, yeah.
Thank you.
yes?
So the guy came in the meeting, I had went to region, they talked about service dogs.
Mm-hmm.
You have problems I'm from Columbus, Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
And some people are not friendly with them dogs, period, unless they're a service dog. So the guy had the little shit dog and a little carrying thing, a little fluffy thing, whatever you call it. And he had a vest on it, but everybody was touching the dog. And so he said it's an emotional support dog.
And that should have excluded him right there unless it's a pet-friendly meeting.
I said, you ain't got no pads on the dog. You say that he's a service dog. They don't talk about emotional support, they say service dog. He cussed me out. I said, you can cuss me all you want to, but if the people who run this facility come and ask you, and you get belligerent, they'll close this meeting down, and it's gonna be because of you. You need to check what you're doing.
So the group itself needs to have a meeting. I'm more than happy to assist. The guideline that's written there is basically a blow-by-blow, follow the words exactly. Video the dog doing things wrong. Don't remember, not only is it Narcotics Anonymous, but there is that we have our anonymity, but there are certain states that have laws that it has to be two-person permission. Nothing says you can't video the dog doing screwed up stuff. And then you tell, no, insurance doesn't cover it, facility doesn't cover it, and then if he doesn't remove the dog, I got a lot of suggestions, some spiritual, some may have to come down to getting the police or the facility to remove him and tell him he can't come back. You may have to inform the facility you're having a problem. But one of the suggestions we have in there is that if the man won't remove that pet from the room and is threatening the meeting, everybody leave the room and leave his ass in there. That's a nice spiritual solution. There's a lot of solutions there that before you have to get enforcement of the facility to come in. And that's why it's written exactly the way it is and how to read it. And then if they start saying lawsuit and you have instructions, and if last resort, you pick up the phone and immediately give me a call, and I'll tell the son of a gun real quick. I'll come down there and help them get a lawyer and sue you and countersue you. And you ain't gonna like it, because I may not be a lawyer, but my mentor has made me good enough that you wouldn't need much more than a lawyer just to do the objections and all that stuff, because I got the rest of it. All right, now, gentleman over there first, with the red hat.
Yeah. Hello, Congressman LaBelle. Hey, LaBelle. I'm a dog lover, but I also know when the dog is with his handler, I know not to reach out to the dog. I know not to pat the dog. I know not trying to make friends with the dog because the handler may not want that. But about the animal, you know.
Hit the chat button.
My feelings
With your finger.
was hurt earlier when I asked you what kind of dog is it. You know, and you responded the way you did.
How did I respond? Say it.
I'm not gonna talk about the dog right now. I got a presentation to do right now.
And and if you stop, I want you to think about it. If you had stopped another addict that was on their way of doing a presentation, and you could see that their head is going 5 different ways at once, and they said that to you, would you be as offended?
Probably so, you know, probably so.
And I didn't mean to be curt, and I do apologize. I was curt to a couple of people, and I was trying to apologize as I was running around.
Yeah.
She is a giant schnauzer. It's not a breed I recommend, and I do apologize, but I was in 5 different directions to include that our deaf team leader is in the hospital, and we were having to redo everything at the last moment. Michelle stepped in, and my mind was going 5 different ways at once, trying to control the wheelchair, the dog, what the presentation was, and that's where it was at. It wasn't meant to be cruel to you. It was just one of those days.
You had them days too.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay. 1, 2. Yes.
I'm Tammy, I'm an addict.
Hey, Tammy.
I was privileged to be able to be at the service symposium and listen to this, and I went home to my home area. We're a brand new area. We're barely out of diagnosis. And I said, we need to talk about accessibility.
Okay.
And it was interesting because
They all went to. I had to go to the deaf
some of the
meeting.
response that I got, by the grace of God, I had learned a lot that being here, was of course we can get in the door, but can we get into a restroom? And the answer at many of our places is no, you couldn't get into a restroom. So now we have to say no, it's not wheelchair accessible. It's not, you know, and there was a fight kind of that went on about it. You know, well, that's not fair. Well, you know, blah blah blah. And so there's some resistance for us to even make sure that the correct information is on our meeting schedules. And then the other thing about the service dogs, I have I think that we have a really big responsibility to educate and to make sure that people understand that it's all fun and games to bring your little, lap dog into the meeting and everybody gets to touch the dog and the dog's running up and down the table. But, and welcome to the Daytona, Florida area. But we have a really big responsibility because it diminishes her ability to have good education about the equipment. And your dog is a piece of equipment, not a pet. The equipment that she brings into the meeting, because nobody would walk up to her chair and touch her chair.
And the other thing we have to remember was we have a hard enough place to getting meetings without screwing it up because somebody's pet is running around and we don't have the insurance. What happens if that pet bites somebody?
Yeah.
Okay?
Hi, my name is Ron. I had one experience, I'm gonna give you 3. One experience, I had to do an injection, and I needed privacy. I did not want no one to come in the bathroom, and I'm using it because I know they will freak out. Right? So when I went into the bathroom, I was very much pleased so that I could use the bathroom because there was a door there in the toilet. Yeah, so I just want to make that statement because now I can identify when I'm out. Somebody, I'm not going to self-pity, but I do have to stay for me. Another thing, you answered it when you made a comment, pet friendly. When I looked at the dog, it didn't say pet friendly, I believe. It didn't say pet friendly.
She's pet friendly. Okay. You're making a misunderstanding or I'm misunderstanding you?
Well, you can clarify it.
Okay. Very simply, if a place is pet friendly, then any dog can come in. If the place is not pet friendly, like this hotel, only service dogs allowed. Only she's allowed in with the disabled person. She can't just come in here by herself. She is, the service dog's responsibility has to be no aggression to people and no aggression to any other animal. So if somebody's little dog decides to come and attack her, that's not a service dog. If she was to turn around and try to attack somebody else's dog, I'd have to wash her on the spot and she could never do the job again.
My question is, don't you supposed to have documents if it is?
Okay, that goes back to what I almost forgot to answer with you. Thank you. There is no documentation. The dog does not have to be vested by federal law. Now, if Georgia state law, and I can check for you, may have an additional protection that if you get their little license or whatever, because North Carolina has it, that you can get an additional protection. That additional protection makes you be protected by Georgia state law. It doesn't mean that my dog, me visiting here, is not a service dog in Georgia, because she's covered by federal law. But yes, if my county says, and you see the dog tag on her, my county says she has to have her dog tag on for rabies, unless it interferes with her task, and then there's pockets on the vest and stuff like that. There's always, or I can have it in my pocket and show this if somebody asked. But yes, we have to obey county and any state laws about the animal, having the shots, if I have to have a dog tag or anything like that. And I think I got your question answered?
I think so, but is this coming from Florida? This is Florida?
Georgia has the same laws. I've already checked that.
Okay.
And South Carolina just recently caught up where they have. Zonal is North and South Carolina, Georgia, Florida, Alabama, and we may be getting another one. And all those states have the same laws as Florida. But what I would do is, if you want to use those guidelines, is I would change it to reflect your state law wherever I had to. And yes, I have to know, because I help people across the United States, I have to know all of them. Do not ask me any other country. I do not know any other country. Yes? Oh, wait a minute, I'm sorry, the young lady back there.
Hey, I'm Barbara,
Hey, Barbara.
in town, that area. You said something about, a facility of, deaf people.
It's a treatment center that has a special section for deaf clients, yes.
Okay, so you said something about they were reaching out to the Midtown area or to an area in Georgia. I'm a part of H&I. So
Why don't we get to, right after this, and I can give you some additional, plus Dwayne can give you some additional, because I had made him alerted to that too.
Okay.
That sounds wonderful. Dwayne had a okay, you.
I got a two-part question. One question is, what happens when you have a dog into the facility, but there might be a member that's allergic to dogs?
That's an easy thing.
Whose right goes first?
Neither.
Attic?
Neither and both at the same time. You accommodate both. If somebody would have told me that sitting up here, or I come in a meeting room, and you told me that you're allergic to the dog. Now, she happens to be one of those non-allergic breeds, unless saliva you can't do nothing about. But if I know that you're allergic, and yes, I have handy wipes in the car to wipe off any of the allergens from outside, because I'm that kind of person. But I will make sure I sit opposite the side of the room. Now we've accommodated both. That's as simple as it gets, but I have news. There's very few people with allergies to dogs that it affects a major life system where they would be covered by the ADA. So the storekeepers that have told me, for example, I'm allergic, it don't count. Yeah, where's your doctor's note? You know? But common courtesy, spirituality of the program, I can sit across from you and respect you, and that's how it should be. It's always a happy medium to be able to be reached.
Second part is, with people who are deaf, Cause I can tell you, I'm from the East End, and we did have a young lady who was deaf, and she brought, someone who interpreted for her in the meeting, and she was sitting in the front. And so that group made that reasonable accommodation. But the interpreter is not in Narcotics Anonymous.
Easy. They're under HIP.
Let me finish so that they can hear it. How is the anonymity of the members of there where people can bring non-addicts into the room? And the anonymity only applies to us amongst each other. We know about spiritual
And
principles.
they are under confidentiality because interpreters have to obey HIPAA.
That's right. That's what I wanted to mention, because that was brought up to our group. When the young lady did bring them, they were saying.
We are considered medical.
Right. They were saying that we are in Narcotics Anonymous. We know about anonymity and not breaching who we saw here, but they're not. They're not a member. So how was it protect them? And what protect them was HIPAA. Right.
Yep.
So under HIPAA, they can't say who was in that
Nope.
meeting?
No.
Dwayne, did you have something? And I have a young question in the back there, and I'm gonna have to close this
well-
up, and I'll stick around for any other questions.
Well, go ahead and take their question.
Are there any electronic copies of these two?
Yeah, and Dwayne has them already.
Okay,
Send
so
it to me?
I'm sending them to Jay. Jay's gonna put them on the website.
Oh, thanks.
Okay.
I need to talk to them.
And this was my question in real fast. Okay, because federal laws are federal laws, because American Disabilities Act.
Yeah.
I know that. I actually have a disability. I'm on oxygen,
I know.
so I can understand that. So my thing is, like with the church, you said that they're exempt.
Yep.
What would be your advice then? I mean, if you're in a church and
Work
they
with-
wouldn't have to change.
No, but we can work with the church and see what they'll do or not do. If you can't find another meeting room, if the church doesn't work with you, then we make sure that we put down on the meeting.
That is not handicapped.
That is not handicap accessible. In the meantime, for further knowledge, I'll address, this is a further conversation from this beginning one, but if the goal for the region and the areas is at least 60 to 70% of meetings, I can help you make sure that you're covered. There, and my mentor and I have had a long talk about that. So that's more than I can explain in just a minute or two.
I just know that we'd be open, liable.
And that's how I would teach you. That's why our region has all these guidelines the way we do, because by sharing that with the areas, our region is no longer liable. And the areas that have adopted these guidelines are no longer liable. So it goes down to the meeting and their choice.
Well,
That's,
yeah. Can I follow up? I'm not about the meeting.
okay,
My-
well,
I know we're about out, but my home group, we're
We're
wheelchair
out.
accessible except for the bathroom, which means we're not.
Right.
or you can put that on there that the bathroom is not, because people with walkers might use it, but a person with a wheelchair would need to know.
Okay, and it's not an appropriate accommodation to have somebody assist them into the bathroom.
It depends if they can. What if you can't get out of the wheelchair without transferring?
That would be a problem.
Yes. So, yeah. All right. I hate to do this. I will be here that you want to ask any other questions. I'm willing to help anyone, anywhere. I will travel. No big deal. My email, my phone number is on here. Jack, yes, ma'am?
Real quick,
We don't have time.
just a clarification.
Okay.
A small dog can be a service dog.
Yeah, I'll get it. It depends. Seizures,
Senior dog.
seizures, what you call, diabetes. There's a way, I'll explain.
Right.
All right. I'm gonna leave you with one last thought. We disabled are more than willing to go to any lengths to get recovery. What are y'all willing to do? Thank you, and thank you.
I'm going to. PR.
Yeah. Here.
What is this for?
The next fucking workshop. So let me give them the dude.
You don't do any newcomers.
I mean, these are, I know.
So, nobody's showing you how to do
Come
them.
here.
So,
Where are we at? PR workshop? So this is men's rap and women's rap.
well, you're on the wrong side. This is
No.
the newcomer.
At 3:30. I've got these ready for 3:30.
Oh, okay. Well, baby,
So I'll
it's
just hold
only
on to it till I find Troy. Don't worry
It's
about it.
only 12:15, baby.
I'm on it, ain't I? 12:15. I'm ready for 3:30.
Asa, I love you.
So where is I'll just hold on to it for Troy. You feel like
Jonathan's good.
These are ready for 3:30. Yeah. What are you guys doing in the newcomer workshop? That's where the newcomers fill out the slip so they get their registration badge. Get a little introduction to Narcotics Anonymous too, from a couple of experienced members and such. It is a requirement for the, not necessarily a requirement, it is a requirement. I don't know the best word to use. Requirement sounds so stringent, right? But it gets them their newcomer packet. So we can see how many are coming in and stuff like that.
Where are they selling the CDs at?
We don't.
Oh, you don't sell the CDs?
No, we give them to you.
Oh, where do you get them at?
Download them online. Look at your, I'll put tonight there'll be a little thing to go to the website. They're all free.
Okay.
Every bit of them. There's 4 main speakers and all the workshop. Yeah. Except for one, I deleted one. Don't tell anybody. Don't tell anybody. Rob? You doing all right?
Good. How you doing?
All right. You look good. Doing all right, Karen?
You know what?